My name is Harper Lane. I'm 24 years old, and a few months ago, I got evicted by my own parents. Not by a landlord, not by some roommate with a passive aggressive cleaning chart. By the people who raised me, posted my baby photos on Facebook, and still call me sweetheart in Christmas captions. I'm a freelance video editor and occasional food delivery driver, which is a glamorous way of saying I drink too much coffee, argue with Adobe software at 2 a.m., and pray invoices clear before my bank app has a panic attack. After college, I moved back in with my parents. Not because I'm lazy, but because I majored in digital media, which basically means I can animate your logo and cry over subscription fees. Rent in our city isn't just expensive, it's a punchline. So going home was the only financially sane option. Their deal was $500 a month in rent. They called it responsibility. I called it continuing punishment for being born without a trust fund. At first, it wasn't awful. I kept to myself, edited in my room, helped with chores, and fixed the Wi-Fi so many times my mom started introducing me as our personal IT department. My younger brother Josh, of course, paid zero rent because he was still in school, which in his case meant vaping in the garage and researching business ideas on Reddit. They gave him $2,000 to start a dropshipping business. He bought sneakers, but I didn't complain. I reminded myself I was the good kid. I paid rent. I did the dishes. I picked up takeout for them when I did deliveries. I tried to believe that if I just kept my head down and my invoices flowing, everything would be fine. Then February happened. 2 clients ghosted. My car decided its transmission was optional, and one brand paid me in merch instead of money. I ended up with a Crypto Kings hoodie and a shark-shaped hat. Not super helpful when you need to buy gas and you're allergic to crypto bros. So I did the adult thing. I texted my dad. Hey, February's tight. I'll be late on rent, but should be able to pay next Friday. No reply. I figured he was annoyed or busy or both. I didn't push. I just worked more. I took every editing gig I could find, squeezed in delivery runs between render queues, and told myself they'd understand. It was 1 week, after months of never missing a payment. 3 days later, I came home and my key didn't work. I stood on the porch, juggling a bag of lukewarm tacos, jamming my key into the lock like maybe the door was just having a bad day. Inside, the lights were on. My shoes were still on the rack by the mat. My jacket, my favorite oversized denim one, was hanging by the door where I'd left it. But my key would not turn. That hollow feeling in my chest started small, like when you realize you left your phone in an Uber. Then it grew teeth. I knocked. Nothing. I rang the doorbell. The dog barked, which meant they could hear it. Still nothing. I called my mom, straight to voicemail. I texted her. Hey, what's going on with the locks? 10 minutes later, she replied. We thought it was time for you to figure things out on your own. You're an adult now. That was it. No conversation. No warning. No, hey, let's talk about how we're feeling stuck and scared about money and boundaries. Just you're an adult now. Good luck out there. I stood there on the porch with my bag of tacos cooling rapidly and my breath fogging in the cold, and I laughed. Not because it was funny, it wasn't, but because my body had 2 options, laugh or cry until the tortillas disintegrated. I slept in my car that night, not because I don't have friends, not because my boyfriend Dan wouldn't have driven across town to pick me up, but because I was too embarrassed to explain. Too embarrassed to say, hey, my parents changed the locks and didn't even leave me a trash bag of my stuff on the lawn. Too embarrassed to admit that the people who taught me to look both ways before crossing the street had just shoved me into oncoming traffic and called it tough love. The next morning, it somehow got worse. They hadn't just locked me out. They had relocated my life. I woke up cramped in the driver's seat of my 2012 hatchback, neck stiff, Spotify screaming ads at me because I'd canceled premium to save money. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Maya. Yeah, that Maya. My boyfriend Dan's ex-girlfriend. The one who once threw penny at him during the great pasta fight because he forgot their anniversary and joked that her Etsy shop didn't count as a job. The one my mother is weirdly obsessed with. The text said, hey, your parents dropped off a bunch of boxes, said you were moving. They're on my porch. I stared at the screen, blinking, waiting for the words to rearrange into something sane. Because surely my parents did not take all of my belongings and dump them on the porch of my boyfriend's ex-girlfriend. Surely not. Another text came in. A photo. 5 cardboard boxes, 1 duffel bag, and, because the universe loves drama, my framed poster from the office leaning against her welcome mat, the same poster my dad had once called low-effort comedy. now starring as the saddest prop in someone else's front yard. My stomach dropped, then tightened, then did that thing where it tries to crawl out through your spine. I drove to Maya's place. We didn't hate each other, not exactly, but we weren't friends anymore either. When Dan and I got serious, Maya and I slowly drifted apart, and my mom, of course, kept inviting her to drop by any time. Mom once told me she's just got such a good head on her shoulders, like the daughter I never had. I am her actual daughter, for the record. Maya opened the door in an oversized hoodie, hair in a messy bun, holding a mug that said Girl Boss in peeling gold letters. Wow, she said, eyes flicking to the boxes. Rough night? You have no idea, I muttered. We walked out to the porch together, my whole life, taped and labeled in my mother's neat handwriting. Bedroom, Harper. Desk stuff. Random. Random. That one hurt more than it should have. What did they say? I asked, throat tight. Maya blew on her coffee. Your mom said she's not answering and we figured you had space. Then she asked if I still drink oat milk. I laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. Do you? I do, she said, but that's not the point. We lugged the boxes to my car. Her cat watched us from the window with pure judgment, like I'd personally offended the entire feline species. Harper, Maya said finally, leaning against the car. You know this isn't normal, right? I shrugged, staring at the scuffed concrete. They're just intense about responsibility. No, she said. They're intense about control. There's a difference. Your mom's been giving me updates, by the way, about you freelancing, about money being tight. She talks about it like she's reading your Yelp reviews out loud. The words landed like cold water. She's always good at sharing your business, just not with you. I sighed. Figures. For a second, we just stood there. Two women connected only by a man and my mother's need to narrate my life to anyone who will listen. Look, Maya said softly, pushing a stray hair behind her ear. You didn't deserve this. Missing 1 month of rent doesn't mean they get to treat you like a failed investment. I swallowed hard around the lump in my throat, because that's exactly what it felt like. Not like my parents were scared for me, or worried, or even angry in a way that made sense. It felt like they'd been waiting for an excuse. And the second I stumbled, they locked the door, boxed up my life, and handed it off to the nearest stand-in daughter. I loaded the last box into my trunk. Maya handed me a small bag. Found these with your stuff, she said. Your old headphones, and this. She pulled out a crumpled 5th-grade poem about dragons I'd forgotten existed. It was taped to your desk drawer, she added. Sentimental or embarrassing? Both, I said, managing a small smile. We stood there in the chilly morning air, my car full of cardboard, my future a complete question mark. Don't let them get away with it, Maya said quietly. With what? I asked. Acting like you're a tenant when it's convenient and a burden when you're not, she replied. You're not a line item in their budget, Harper. You're their kid. I didn't say anything. But as I drove away, tacos cold, boxes rattling in the back, dragon poem on the passenger seat, I realized something I should have seen years ago. They hadn't kicked me out because they had to. They did it because they could. And if they could change the locks on me without blinking, then I could change something too. Not them. Me. I didn't realize how quickly a life could collapse into the trunk of a hatchback until I was sitting in a grocery store parking lot, engine off, scrolling through rental listings that all looked like crime scene previews. I typed, monthly rentals cheap AF, and hit search. Everything looked wrong. Grainy photos, ominous shadows in corners, descriptions like cozy, artistic layout, or great for creatives. Anytime a listing uses that many adjectives to avoid admitting the walls are probably sweating, it's a trap. Under normal circumstances, I would have called my boyfriend Dan. He's the kind of person who would have jumped in his car immediately, asked no questions, brought snacks, and driven me anywhere safe. But I couldn't do it. Not yet. Not while my parents had dumped my belongings on his ex-girlfriend's porch like I was an unwanted subscription box. Not while I was still swallowing the humiliation of being evicted by people who still send me Christmas cards with "family is everything" in curly gold letters. I needed space, even if that space came with mold. After an hour of scrolling, I spotted it. Basement room, $400 MO, private entrance, cash only, no smoking, must be quiet. Microwave okay, blender no. Blender no, I whispered, suspicious. But I called anyway. Mr. Phillips, a retired dentist with the personality of a tax auditor, answered. His voice sounded like he permanently disapproved of plaque and teenagers. 10 minutes later, I was staring at the private entrance, which was really just a concrete staircase descending into gloom. The basement smelled like damp carpet and old secrets. The ceilings were low. The furnace wheezed like it needed an inhaler. There was a thrift store mattress, a chipped dresser, and a shower with water pressure so violent it could sandblast rust. It was awful. But after a day spent locked out of my own childhood home, the ugliness felt like honesty. No gaslighting disguised as tough love. No guilt trips. No weaponized silence. Just 4 bare walls, a door that actually locked from the inside, and no one waiting on the other side to judge me. "I'll take it," I said. Mr. Phillips blinked at me, like I'd confessed to loving the taste of mouthwash. "You don't want to think about it?" "If I think, I'll sleep in my car again," I said. "I'll take it." The first night in the basement wasn't peaceful, but it was mine. I stacked my boxes along one wall, set up my laptop on an upside-down storage bin, plugged in a $6 lamp I found in one of the boxes labeled Random. The bulb flickered once, then glowed steady. A small circle of light in a place that felt like the underside of a bridge. I didn't tell my parents the address. I told myself it was because they didn't deserve it. But the truth was simpler. I didn't trust them not to weaponize it. Later that night, when the furnace groaned awake and the water heater made noises like it was plotting revenge, I scrolled back through my mom's last text. "We thought it was time for you to figure things out on your own. You're an adult now." I must have reread it 50 times. The words blurred, not because I didn't understand them, but because I did. Too well. I stared at her contact picture, her smiling in a sun hat, holding a margarita, and something in me snapped. I wasn't going to give them the chance to hurt me again. I opened my carrier app. "Change number? Yes." "Reason?" "Unwanted contact." Click. Just like that, I disconnected a lifeline I'd been clinging to since childhood, and the silence that followed wasn't fear, it was space. They noticed almost immediately. First came Facebook Messenger calls from my mom. Her profile photo, the one of her and Josh at his graduation, kept lighting up my screen. Decline. Then unknown numbers. Voicemails. Text from Josh that sounded suspiciously scripted. Then a real masterpiece. An incoming call labeled Josh's school. My stomach dropped. What if something happened? I picked up fast. "Hello?" There was a pause, a dramatic throat clear. Then my dad's voice. I closed my eyes. "You're not very good at this," I said. "Next time, pick something less alarming than a school emergency." "We've been trying to reach you," he said. "I've noticed. This is childish. Running away doesn't fix anything." I looked around my tiny basement kingdom. My makeshift desk, my lamp, my mattress, my chipped dresser. "I'm not running," I said. "I'm living somewhere I'm not disposable." He ignored that. Typical. But before he could launch into the standard monologue about responsibility, I hung up. My hand shook afterward, but under the fear was something tougher. Resolve. Eventually, work became my way forward. I took every freelance job available. Edited training videos with audio so bad I thought someone recorded in a bathtub. Cut wedding highlights for couples who insisted on 5 minutes of slow-motion doves. Animated a taco mascot dancing across a screen for a fast food chain. Each payment, no matter how small, felt like oxygen. My days became steady rhythms. Edit, deliver food, edit again, sleep on a mattress that squeaked like it was complaining every time I rolled over. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. No judgment, no demands, no, "you owe us for being born." The basement slowly stopped feeling like exile. It started to feel like freedom. Then came the knock. 3 short taps, sharp, measured, familiar. I froze. My heartbeat jumped instantly, painfully, like my ribs weren't enough to hold it in. I crept to the small basement window, tiptoeing like a child hiding from a monster under the bed. And there he was, my dad, standing on the tiny landing at my basement entrance in his signature serious conversation uniform, tucked in polo, jeans too stiff to breathe in, and a Bluetooth earpiece he wears like a badge of authority. He knocked again, the kind of knock that assumes you'll open out of instinct. "Harper," he called. "I know you're in there." Of course he knew. "We just want to talk." We. Meaning, my mom was probably in the car practicing lines about family unity and we all make mistakes. Except their mistakes came with spare keys, forced apologies, and walls that closed in. Mine came with a basement. I stood by the door, breath shallow, hands trembling. For a moment, just one, I imagined opening it. Imagined them saying they were sorry. Imagined a version of my family that didn't weaponize love like a tool. But then he said it. The sentence that turned my spine to steel. You can't disappear just because you're embarrassed. Embarrassed. As if they hadn't thrown me out. As if I had walked away because my pride was wounded. As if their actions were a minor inconvenience I wasn't mature enough to handle. I stepped closer to the door, not to open it, only to speak. You changed the locks without warning, I said, voice steady. You boxed up my life and dumped it at someone else's house, and you think this is about embarrassment? Silence. Then his classic reply. You're overreacting. There it was. The phrase they used to erase every emotion I'd ever felt. You taught me something, I said. You taught me no one's coming to catch me, so I learned not to fall near you. He shifted. I heard it in the creak of his shoes. We did what we thought would help you grow up, he finally said. I laughed. A small broken sound. It hurt. Grow up? I repeated. By treating me like a tenant you can evict? By humiliating me in front of Maya? He didn't reply. I heard his weight shift, then footsteps. I rushed to the window and watched him walk up the stairs toward the driveway. He didn't glance back. The world's best dad sticker on the back of their car glared at me like a punchline. They drove off, and the basement was quiet again. But this silence wasn't the lonely kind. It was the kind you get right before something changes. The kind that fills you up instead of hollowing you out. I sat on the squeaky mattress and stared at the furnace humming away, alive and stubborn. I wasn't okay. But I wasn't theirs to hurt anymore. And I decided then, I wasn't just going to recover. I was going to rise. Starting over isn't cinematic. There's no inspirational soundtrack, no sunrise montage, no mysterious neighbor handing you banana bread and emotional support. It looks like brushing your teeth in a sink that leaks from the bottom. It looks like choosing between doing laundry or eating something that didn't come from a vending machine. It looks like making a desk out of 2 cardboard boxes and a plank of wood you found behind the dumpster. Week 1 was survival, week 2 was acceptance. Week 3, something shifted. It started with a gig editing a training course for a company that made synthetic turf. The footage looked like it was filmed underwater. The audio sounded like the narrator was speaking from inside a cardboard box. But the pay was $280. When the payment cleared, I walked to the grocery store and bought the biggest rotisserie chicken they had. I ate it alone on my squeaky mattress with my bare hands like some feral queen reclaiming her kingdom. For the first time in months, something tasted like hope. Work picked up. My laptop was slow but loyal. My coffee intake was criminal. And my inbox, once a graveyard, finally held signs of life. I found a cheap second monitor on Facebook Marketplace. The seller sold weed and homemade keychains. He gave me a discount for buying both. I set it up on my cardboard desk like it was a throne. The basement still smelled like wet dog, but the air felt lighter. My days started to feel more like building, less like surviving. Then my mom emailed me. No subject line, no apology, no acknowledgement of kicking me out, changing the locks, or dropping my belongings at Maya's porch like a clearance donation. Just, sweetie, your dad's retirement party is coming up. I thought it would be nice if you helped put together a little video of his career. You're so good with editing. It would really mean a lot. I stared at the screen. I didn't laugh. I didn't cry. I just felt hollow. They didn't miss me. They missed my labor. I didn't reply. Instead, I posted a photo on my Instagram story of my new dual screen setup. Nothing dramatic. Just a wide shot of my desk, my cheap plant, and my surprisingly cozy little space. The caption, when you build something from scratch, every pixel feels earned. My mom saw it within 15 minutes, then my dad, then Josh. 5 minutes after that, I received a Venmo request. $500. Unpaid rent. February. From Mom. I stared at my phone in disbelief. They had evicted me, boxed up my life, dumped it at my boyfriend's ex's house, and they still wanted the rent I owed after they changed the locks? I screenshotted the request, opened my Instagram again, posted a black background with simple white text. Some debts are paid in dignity. Did it go viral? No. Did it feel like armor? Yes. Because for once I wasn't swallowing it, I was naming it. 3 weeks later, Josh texted me, Family barbecue Saturday. You should come. Dad's doing ribs. Mom's making that gross salad you weirdly like. I stared at the message. They locked me out. Dumped my stuff at Maya's house. Send me a Venmo request. And now, ribs? Part of me wanted to ignore it. But another part, the scarred, petty, freshly empowered part, wanted to go. Not to reconcile, not to forgive, but to remind them I wasn't dead. I wasn't erased. And I wasn't someone they could switch off whenever it was convenient. So I went. I wore jeans, a plain tee, and the hoodie my mom once said made me look like I'd given up on life. I took my beat-up car with the cracked taillight. I walked into that backyard with the kind of calm that comes from hitting rock bottom and realizing the ground isn't as scary as people made it sound. Josh greeted me at the door. "Whoa, you actually came?" "Yeah," I said. "I figured I owed myself a free meal after the whole eviction incident." He winced. "Too soon?" "Always," I said. Inside, the air was thick with barbecue smoke and fake cheer. Aunts hugged me like I'd returned from war. Uncle Ray asked if I'd found a real job yet. My mom praised my healthy glow. My dad clapped my shoulder like nothing ever happened. "Glad you came," he said. "It means a lot." I nodded. I didn't smile. Then the main event started. They dragged out the projector and aimed it at the back fence. Apparently it was a family tradition now, to play a slideshow of our memories. Old family trips, birthdays, graduations. Except as the slideshow played, something became painfully clear. I wasn't there. Not after age 18. Every vacation I wasn't invited to. Every birthday party I wasn't told about. Every group photo where the family looked complete. Without me. It wasn't an oversight. It was a rewrite. They hadn't just removed me from the house. They had erased me from the narrative. My heart beat slow and cold. My hands stopped shaking. When the applause started for a photo of Josh blowing out candles at a birthday I never attended, I pulled out my phone, opened my Google Drive, selected the folder labeled Receipts. I tapped cast screen. The projector blinked and switched. And suddenly, instead of a curated fantasy, the backyard was filled with, and a screenshot of my mom's eviction text, a screenshot of the Venmo request, photos of the boxes they left at Maya's porch, a short video clip of my first night in the basement, me sitting on a mattress, the cracked ceiling above me, the furnace growling in the background, gasps, a plate dropping, someone whispering, "Oh my God." My mom turned pale, my dad's jaw clenched. Josh looked at me like I'd detonated a bomb. My grandma, bless her wild soul, leaned back in her lawn chair and said loudly, "Well, this feels more honest than the other stuff." I nearly hugged her. My mom sputtered, "Harper, maybe this isn't—" "No," I said calmly. "This is exactly the right setting. You wanted to show everyone the memories. I just added the ones you forgot." The silence that followed wasn't just awkward. It was exposing. After one long moment, I grabbed a to-go plate, loaded it with ribs, kissed my grandma on the cheek, and walked out the front gate without looking back. I didn't slam the door, didn't raise my voice, didn't cry. I just left, for the second time. But this time, I made sure not to leave anything behind. After the barbecue fiasco, I disappeared again. Not the dramatic, crying in the shower kind of disappearing. The quiet kind. The kind where you simply stop showing up where you're not valued. No calls, no texts, no social media reactions. I muted family group chats, unfriended relatives who only remembered I existed when gossip was hot, and kept only one exception. Grandma. Because she was chaos, honesty, and accidental wisdom wrapped in floral cardigans. The next morning, the air in the basement felt stale, heavy, like it had absorbed the years of being dismissed, gaslit, minimized. I knew I couldn't stay there forever. So I started looking for apartments, real ones, with windows that didn't touch the ceiling, with floors that didn't slope, with showers that didn't bruise you. It took 3 weeks of grinding. Editing till 3 a.m., delivering food until my legs burned, saving every dollar, skipping meals I couldn't justify, building something piece by piece, gig by gig. And then finally, one Tuesday afternoon, I signed a lease. My first real lease. A small, sunlit one-bedroom on the second floor of an old brick building. Wood floors. A tiny balcony that could fit one chair and a brave plant. A kitchen sink that didn't scream when you used it. A lock that opened with a key I owned. I moved in that Thursday. By Friday, I had Wi-Fi, a desk, and a cheap Walmart rug that shed like a molten cat. I bought a little plant and placed it on the balcony. I named it Boundaries. It felt right. I didn't tell my parents my new address. Not because I was hiding, but because I finally understood. Access is a privilege, not an automatic right. No one gets to walk into my life without proving they can be there safely. A week into moving in, I came home to find a padded envelope on my welcome mat. No return address, just my full name in my dad's handwriting. My chest tightened. My fingers hovered over the seal. Part of me wanted to throw it away unopened. Another part, the part that still remembered being a kid begging for approval, paused. I opened it. Inside was a single USB drive. No note. I plugged it into my laptop, half expecting spyware or a slideshow set to a guilt-ridden soundtrack. But the file was just a video. My dad sat at the dining table, the same one I'd been locked out of, hands clasped, looking older than I remembered. The camera angle wasn't flattering. It wasn't staged. It wasn't rehearsed. He took a breath. And for the first time in my life, he looked human. "If you're watching this," he said, "I guess that means you opened the package." He gave an awkward, sad smile. He talked about the house, about how they thought tough love would motivate me, about how they didn't know how to help without enabling me. That word hit hard. Enabling. As if love had to come with terms and conditions. He rubbed his face, sighed, and said quietly, "I'm sorry." My breath caught. He wasn't crying. He didn't beg. He didn't justify. He just said it. "I'm sorry, Harper." The video ended with him pressing stop, not knowing if I'd ever see it. I sat there staring at the blank screen, my fingers cold against the keyboard. It wasn't perfect. It didn't erase what happened. It didn't rebuild trust. But it was real. And for once, it didn't come wrapped in self-defense. I didn't call him, didn't write back, didn't rush forgiveness like a reflex. I needed space. So instead, I made a small holiday card, a photo of me in front of my new place, holding Bruno, my neighbor's dog, who visits so much we've basically become part-time co-parents. The caption read, "Doing well, please don't forward." I mailed it to their house. No return address. 2 weeks later, my mom tried to FaceTime me from Josh's phone. I watched the screen light up, let it ring, then hit mute. Here's the truth no one tells you. The first time you ignore your mom's call, your thumb hesitates. By the 10th time, you don't flinch. It's not anger, it's peace. Not spite, but self-respect. Forgiveness isn't a switch, it's a dimmer. Mine was hovering somewhere between not yet and one day. I wasn't burning anymore. I wasn't waiting for an apology or an explanation or the version of them that only exists in my imagination. I had a new address, a new number, a new lock I'd installed myself, a life with edges and softness that belonged to me. I only answered the calls I wanted, and none of theirs made the list. Last week, Josh texted, "Mom said you changed your number, LOL. She tried calling from her coworker's phone." I replied, "Tell her I got the message, all 47 of them." He sent back a shrug emoji and, "You good?" And for the first time in a long time, I realized, yeah, I am good. I work at my desk by the window now, edit videos, pay rent early, save a little every week, grow a plant named Boundaries that is somehow still alive. Sometimes I think about mailing them something else. Not a letter, not a card, not a dramatic speech. Just my old house key. No note, no explanation, just metal. A quiet signal that says, I don't need this anymore. Because they changed the locks on me once. So I changed everything else. And now? Now I go through a whole day without once wondering if I'm disappointing someone. Now I wake up in a place where no one can evict me as a lesson. Now I choose who gets access to me. And I only answer the calls I want.